And today we have the 4th of October, which is in some calendars the Feast of St. Francis. And I am so excited for this Feast of St. Francis to go through so many of the animals that we hear in yoga and yoga poses. And so we're going to weave some of these spiritual traditions in and out of each other as you welcome the good earth that is beneath you, taking a moment to find yourself settled here upon this planet. And you might feel some gratitude for gravity. How nice to be held. What can you do to be more comfortable? What can you do to maybe organize shoulder blades, all the details in the hips or the knees or the ankles? To welcome your whole body to this practice, to welcome your whole self as you welcome the earth beneath, and you welcome gravity and the protection and the comfort that the earth gives us. And whatever your spiritual tradition might be, wherever you may have developed your beliefs and your source of comfort, wherever you are, the earth is beneath you. And I invite you to connect with whatever gives you that comfort about the earth. It's support, ongoing, ever present. Welcome as you're just joining us, allowing yourself to be comfortable, to be settled as we welcome ourselves into this practice and welcoming the breath, noticing the inhale and the exhale as it arrives and departs. And you might experience the breath a little bit like the seasons that we have here upon Earth, especially up in the northern hemisphere. The inhale, welcoming the inhale like a spring, like the beginning of a new season. And as the lungs fill up and you feel that fullness in your chest of the inhale, let that be summer. And as the exhale begins like autumn, letting go, releasing. Tuning into this moment, the autumn in our northern hemisphere. And the bottom of the exhale, the end of the exhale like winter, that moment of stillness, that moment before the inhale, when you might wonder, will this inhale arrive? And it does. Spring comes, the inhale comes, and the cycle continues. And this is a rhythm you can trust. Inhale like spring, and the fullness like summer. The exhale of autumn, the stillness of winter. When we are in the confusion and the unknown, it is good to remember these things we know for sure. The inhale follows the exhale, and the way spring follows winter. Welcoming this whole body into the time and the practice. Notice if you need anything for yourself to be even more comfortable, to be more settled. Again, this is your practice. I'll make some suggestions for movement, and they're all invitations. If they sound good, great. I'll give you different intensity options so you can make it custom for your needs. And everything is an option to say no to. Anything is, I'll watch it or I'll do it in my mind. And you might have an intention. You might have a special need that you're bringing tonight. We are in the middle of a Mercury retrograde here. And so all things regenerate, refresh, review, reset, reconnect, remember. Whatever you are bringing, let that be welcome. And you might weave that in throughout the session. I'll invite you to bring your intentions to heart or to mind if that is something you are working with. So being clear, you may have a clear need, you may not. You may be here for the ride to see what happens, and that is a fine place to be. As you welcome your whole body and your breath, and you feel the earth beneath you and the air all around you. And I am so excited for this Feast of St. Francis to go through so many of the animals that we hear in yoga and yoga poses. So I'll offer some of the basic yoga animals and offer some modifications and ways to play with them, because the animals do like to play. And one thing that's true about the animals is that they're excellent at being themselves. And so that's another invitation I have to you tonight, is to really invite you to be as much of yourself as you can lean into, as you can express. You might even surprise yourself with just how yourself you show up. So welcoming that selfness. And I begin tonight with just some wiggly worms, just some movements and wiggles. If you're lying down, you might just be wiggling your fingers and your toes. If you're sitting, you might wiggle through the shoulders. You might wiggle through the spine. You might just need to wiggle the tongue in the mouth, noticing what all sorts of wiggles and worms and creepies and crawlies you might have in your body. So if you have toes, you might bend and open them. If you have fingers, you might bend and open them. And you might feel yourself in more of a amoeba, earthworm type state. And you might just be making little wiggles through the center of your body and letting these movements awaken you and prepare you for bigger movements. And if you have some developed habits, we've been doing a lot of the joint movements throughout the week. So you might have a favorite joint movement that you would like to add in here. You might feel the need to move your wrists or your elbows or something. We will get to the shoulders and the hips, I promise, but you might need your ankles and your knees to get extra warmed up. And if you're sitting on the ground, I invite you to bring your feet together to find some sitting butterflies. If you're sitting on a chair or lying down, you might do that with moving the legs open and together from a sitting position. And you might also find butterflies in the shoulders, in the upper arms and the upper body. So finding a moment with butterflies, however they come for you, and you might be connecting both elbows and hips to get it advanced here. Upper and lower butterflies. You might be doing this lying on the floor. If you're on a bed, if you're lying down, you might just work with your knees, allowing this bit of movement to warm up the hips, to get the hips moving. You might also include the elbows and the shoulders, so connecting with some of these qualities of butterfly. Butterfly medicine is associated with transformation, with renewal and rebirth. So connecting with those themes as you move in this way. Hips and shoulders to a supported back bend. And I've got a couple different things to offer you here. You might like this leg position, and you might bring your arms to the back and reach open with the chest and look up at the ceiling, and just sort of a supported back bend. I'm looking towards a fish pose. This might even be done on the chair, right? If you're just at the edge of the chair, you can support yourself, maybe hold on the sides or all the way in the back to do a deeper back bend from a sitting position, looking up at the ceiling, opening the chest. There's some of the accessible ways to get into it. And a classic fish pose, some of you might have done some of the more traditional yoga, does involve a really like a pretzel leg position. So if you like to play with lotus pose or half lotus pose, this would be a moment to give yourself some of those explorations and combine those with that leaning back, that backward bend. Or you might keep the feet together, and if you're lying down, you're lifting. If you're already on the floor, then you're bringing your elbows up and you're lifting the body up on the elbow and still lifting the chest open towards a fish pose. So you might be getting the pieces. If you're putting everything together, you might be in a place to make your legs fold up like a pretzel and lean back on the elbows. That would be a fish pose from the books, so to speak, but that has lots of variations, as you saw. You can do it so many different ways. You can even keep legs straight. If the hips are not having it, you can have, we're looking for that back bend. We're looking for that element of lengthening the body in through the front, expanding the chest, bringing shoulder blades together, and looking up as you explore this supported fish pose for the next few breaths. And if that feels good, great. And if you're like, oh, this isn't me at all, I don't want to do this, my body doesn't want to go there, see what it does want. Maybe you're all about the wiggly worm today. Maybe this is your practice of inching around and inching through, and maybe that butterfly felt really nice. So you might return to something from earlier that was soothing, if something that you tried didn't work so well. And you're giving yourself a few breaths here, and we're going to just take another 2 or 3 minutes with the wiggly worms, and we'll get into more specific shoulder stuff, because I know we all need those things. Those shoulders carry so much of our burdens. So I welcome you into a sitting position wherever you are. And let's reach the arms straight in front for a moment and touching the shoulders. And out to the sides and touching the shoulders and up overhead. You can choose any of these directions. You might have a favorite one. You might like to move through the different options of reaching and folding. And you might have already done lots of butterflies with the shoulders, so you might be feeling all butterflied out there, but you might have the rotation still in you. To move the elbows around in a circle, and those might be great big circles with the elbows touching, or they might be smaller circles. You might have a situation and you might need to just work with one shoulder, even if you've got a recovery from an injury maybe, or a surgery. So taking it at a pace that feels good, one shoulder at a time or both together, circling. And when you feel like the circles are pretty available, see if you can try a figure 8. Getting into that loop-de-loop, slowing it down so the brain has all that time to connect with individual muscle fibers and ligaments that maybe skip over. Figure 8s in one direction and in another direction. Whatever goes one way has a backward. As Mercury reminds us, try the backward of what you're doing. Can you do what you did moving backwards? And letting that rest and seeing what else the shoulders might need. Some shrugging, some rolling around. And we'll do the 4 movements of the neck, the slow motion, yes. Oh, yes. Yes to peace on earth, right? Yes to joyful life here on this planet. Yes to the animals and to the plants and the bounty of our natural world. Letting your head move up and down. And see if you can remain tall. If you're sitting, let your spine be lifted. You might be lying down and moving with your head on the floor, noticing the details there and the sensations of a slow motion, yes. And let the jaw be soft and the tongue be loose. from the up and down there, coming back to the center and letting the head tilt over to the side, up and over, one side and the other. And the mystery of things, I don't know. There's so much I don't know. A side bend at the neck as you welcome the mystery, just acknowledging that tomorrow's going to be something new. And as you arrive at the center again, allow yourself to twist and turn in the third movement, the slow motion no, the boundaries that we're setting. Setting boundaries with some elements of chaos, and definitely setting boundaries with illness and imbalance. No. And there might be little movements inside of there. You might turn to the side with the head and notice that there's a yes inside of the no. And what happens there? That might feel good. You might try it out, and you might have little loops and little circles and all those organic shapes that our animal friends teach us sometimes. When you find a piece of bark in the woods, it's got those trails and those worn little pathways from the critters that eat the bark, and they're incredibly complicated mazes like subway maps or train lines. And so let your head move around in all the different ways. And you might be hearing little sounds, little clicks, little clicks. Let yourself keep breathing. Remember that the neck is so close to the ears that your toes and ankles make a lot of those similar sounds. We just don't get to hear them up there. So giving your neck and your shoulders any other movements, any other wiggles, changing direction, making sure you got it all one way and the other. And in just a moment, we'll move into our cat poses. And we've got so much to do in the cats. You know, there's a world of cats out there, and you can do that on the floor. If you're here for the yoga class with a mat, great. If you're here with a chair, that's wonderful. On the chair, sit at the edge of the chair so that you've got space to round your back, and we'll modify for that. And you can set up on the hands and knees if that's what you are prepared to do, and you can also modify in any other ways. Of course, anything I offer can be done in the mind, imagination style. So our first cat stop, once you're there, once you're ready, once you feel set up, is a classic forward and back, getting the whole spine in on the movement of a lifting and a lowering, of a scooping up and under and a scooping out. Moving head and tail, or maybe focusing on just the head or just the hips if you have some things to work out in that part of the body. So you might be there, and on the chair, the whole spine is exploring the extent of your range of motion. And then letting the cats be free. You know how the cats do. Some of you might live with cats. Some of you might have these great teachers right in your homes that show you how to do it. Sometimes my cat lengthens the leg and shakes it a little bit. You might try some of those movements. If you're sitting, you might try that with an arm, kind of reaching forward and giving it a little shake. All the different movements. And anything your body needs, really. You know this drill. The cats are independent critters and creatures, so you might need to work on your hips, or you might have a sleeping, resting cat that involves putting an arm down between the opposite arm and legs. And let your cat guide you as you listen to your body. What other cat games you can play. Some of you are comfortable on your wrists. Some of you might need to put your hands up like little pyramids. And I know some people stretch their wrists doing some more, risky things. But these are your bodies, so you make the decisions you make. You take it as gently as you need. And let's play with tiger pose. If you're on the floor, I'll show you on a chair, but if you're on the floor, the tiger is bringing one knee towards the nose, underneath, and then reaching and lifting that foot towards the crown of the head. So it's a big cat. It's a big forward bend, the knee curls in, and then it's a big backward bend with the foot leading out. So that's one option. On the chair, you want to scoot to the side of the chair if you want to play this game, and then you can bring that knee in a little bit more and then send that leg back. And bring the knee, scooping it in, lifting it a little bit, and then if you've got the room to send that foot back. So you might do that on a chair with the tiger 3 or 4 times, at least up to 5 or 6 if it feels good. You know your body's on one side and then the opposite side. Whatever happens on the left, and do it on the right. Tiger, the big cat. And some of you might like a lion. Some of you might already been doing lion before. A lion pose in the books is with the knees wide open and the hands in between, and I was turning my fingers inward. That's an option. Of course, you want to be comfortable. If your hands are comfortable on their pyramids. A lion pose is a roar, breathing in and exhaling with the tongue sticking out like this. All the wild animals are coming out today. As an invitation, you might just stick your tongue out. Some of you might even let that tongue move from side to side. These are options: tigers and lions, big cats. And I'll throw one more dangerous animal in here as a balancing pose. If you love the tiger, if you like the balancing pose, cat, opposite arm and leg lifted, getting it into a super fancy foot towards hand. This is an option. This is like stuff to just maybe watch if you're taking it easy today, just to get some of the insect friends in on it. The Scorpio is part of this set of practices, and you can do it in your mind. You can do it preparing with getting one arm and one leg to levitate. And on the chair, you can probably, if you can, find it right there, right? If you can bring a foot towards the hand. So it's that back bend. Several different options. Don't strain. Keep it gentle. Keep it an exploration. If it feels like a good idea, give it a try. But more than anything, let yourself slowly come down to a resting pose. Folding the body down however it feels good to you. The arms might be under the head. The arms might be symmetrical. They might be each doing their own thing. Notice what you need. A lot of books call the resting pose a child's pose. And some of them refer to it as hare pose, H-A-R-E, like the wild rabbit. So we welcome in rabbit medicine, hare medicine, these animals that teach us so much about protecting ourselves, being on the lookout. They are often prey, so they're checking for predators, and they help us understand our own fears and how to navigate them, and how to recalibrate, how to return to balance after a spook. Some deep breaths with a sleep, with drinking more water. And we've got a couple more things here on the floor in our animal set. You might stay resting. You might be a happy hare. You might like this resting pose. You might be in the chair in a resting pose. You might have the head supported by the hands, or you might even have something that can let you fold over and rest. So that might be where you stay, but we've got an easy lizard And then we've got a cobra up ahead. So for easy lizard from the floor, from hands and knees, you're going to take a great step forward with the hands and bring the nose towards the floor, letting those armpits open out and the chest be supported. That is one way to stretch the chest and the shoulders. You might stay there, you might come out, come back in. Tall on the hips. And in the chair, it's really about the back bend, so it's about bringing the arms up and lifting through the chest. So finding your easy lizard. And lizard medicine is considered to be dream medicine, helps us connect with our vision as the lizard dreams in the warm sunshine. And if you are in a place where it's comfortable to get all the way to the ground, you might bring belly to the floor, like the good soft animal that you are, resting all the way down. And if you're sitting on a chair, just let yourself lean back. If you're sitting on a chair, give yourself a complete comfortable resting position. Wherever you are, reconnect to the earth. Find your breath. If your belly is on the floor, feel the breath as the belly moves against the floor. And if you're sitting up or laying on your back, let a hand be on the belly to remind you of your breath. And checking in with your intention. If you're working with a specific need or theme, remind yourself. And the theme of my suggestion today is the theme of St. Francis, who was the patron saint of the environment, of animals, of environmental healing. And so in working with our own bodies, with helping each of ourselves feel better, we're helping the whole planet. The whole planet. We might be resting here, and we might go into a cobra. Easy cobra continues to leave the elbows on the floor. It might be just lifting the head and the shoulders there. Easy cobra. You might be in the mood for a fuller cobra with the hands that rest on the floor and the arms that open a little further. You know what your body needs. Cobras, easy cobras, and curious cobras. Some of you might remember this, keeping the elbows on the ground and walking a little bit in one direction and the other. So I'll give you some options to do that sitting down. If you're on the ground laying down, you've got elbows up and you've got hands supporting and keeping the arms somewhat low. You've got this little twist. Yeah, so if you're not able to get on the floor, and that's just fine, go for that twist. Go for this part right here. You might even bring your arms up, and notice how bringing the arms up makes the chest open wider. If the floor were against you here, you'll go one side and the other side. So we're taking the essence of this posture, where this is the twisting cobra, or the curious easy cobra, the curious sphinx. And you're going to take what you can from it on a chair position to get that wiggly, that synovial fluid, that lubricant of our spine and joints to nourish our whole bodies. In just a moment, we'll move into the world of dog poses. Take your time with the cobra, with the easy cobra, with the sphinx, with the curious sphinx. And give yourself some rest in a place that feels good. If you like to be folded up, fold your body up. If you like to be lengthened out, let your body stay lengthened out. Give yourself those 2 breaths. And if you're here for the floor practice, get ready for your downward dog by setting up on the hands and knees, tucking those toes under, and pop the knees into your inversion here, into your upside down V. You might walk your dog. And that dog might sit at any moment, giving yourself rest and ample time between. If you're looking for a similar practice with the support of a prop, the chair can serve as the floor, giving yourself a kind of a right angle position. Same thing that happens on the floor, much lighter for the spine, much lighter for the wrists. And we have the complete sitting option, which again is finding that right angle. Finding that right angle, that might include one leg with the body lifted. However this posture finds expression. Some of you might use it almost as a resting pose. Some of you might have popped up there and stayed, giving your body this upside downness. And some of you might need a rest, and you might rest knees down, you might rest knees up. And from this downward dog, we'll go up to standing positions. Take your sweet time as your feet move towards the hands if you're down here, and unrolling that spine in a gentle, systematic way to your standing position. Or stay seated. If you're seated, find your feet on the floor, wherever you are, standing or seated. Notice what is up and under you. Feel the feet under your, feel the earth under the floor, under your feet. You are on earth. And we're going to move through a very familiar sequence to those of you who've been joining me for some time now. We're going to go through our palm tree, swaying palm tree, and then the standing twist, which begins with a starfish. So nature everywhere, our tree poses here, coming back to the theme of the abundance and the glory of our natural world. Stand with your feet parallel, a little give, a little softness in the knees. When you're ready, you might interlace the fingers. We'll let that flip over and reach up. This might be your practice. You might just have your hands over your head, the shoulders down, lengthening the spine like a blade of grass that's reaching up. Resting, the hands might rest on top of the head. They might come down. And then the next state of this is to come up onto the toes, to bring the whole body onto the toes if you feel like it. Challenging your balance. At least 3 rounds at your own pace. Finding that long spine and seeing if your body lets you levitate onto the toes. And you might keep that gentle and down. You might do that right here. Honoring this body. Swaying palm tree, the side bend is next. So when you're ready, let the feet step wide, opening to your comfort. And I'm a fan of the arms down. You might like to try that if you haven't yet, just letting your body move side to side. And you might know that your body really gets into it with the arms participating. So taking it as gently and as intensely as you need it, right? Noticing what does this body benefit from? Is it an arm engagement? Is it a gentleness in the arms? And some of you might even interlace behind. Going for a side to side. To get the kinks and the kirks and the nooks of the side bend. As you connect with trees in your world, you might have a favorite tree somewhere where you go walking, or maybe near your home. What's that energy of the swaying trees, so that they're able to be affected by winds and they'll bounce back to their full form. It's their flexibility that gives them their resilience. So you're showing up here, thank you, to bring more flexibility to your body and to be more resilient as the winds of life blow through the tree that is your body. And we'll move into the standing twist when you're ready. Open up through the whole body for the starfish. We don't have a lot of watery creatures. We had a fish earlier on, and now we have a starfish. And so let your body connect, not just with the shape, but with the natural history of the ocean and what connection you might have with starfish. And then you might wrap those limbs up around in a twist, standing in one direction and open and in the other direction. And letting these arms move as quickly or as slowly as you need as you twist from one side to the other, finding that reach, that expanse in one direction and in the other. And it's the same thing like with the head twist. You might get in there and you might think, oh, it would be nice to look around, or even turn the head first and then come back with the shoulders. Leave the head in the middle and let it move last. See if you can play around with the order of things. Which parts of the spine are leading the way, which parts of the spine are responding. Getting this to be a practice that you're really feeling, not just doing, not just imitating, but you're like, oh yeah, if I move my head first, I get that nice stretch, and then I can catch up with the shoulders. And maybe there's a yes with the head inside of that twist. Maybe it feels differently in one side and the other. So try it out. Saying yes as you let your body twist around and keep finding connection with that starfish, connection with our oceans. If you'd like to be near the ocean or in the ocean, what is that quality of the ocean that is so nourishing to you? What is it about the ocean that attracts you if you are attracted to the ocean? Let's do some forward and backward bending now, just to even things out in the spine. That may be as gentle as keeping your hands on your back. You might need that support to lean back, to look up. If you're standing, I'll offer this to you in a chair as well. And then the forward bend might just be a halfway. It might be a right angle. The hands can stay on the back, or you can go deeper. If you know your body, if you want to do this, this is your time to hang out, hang down. Backward, forward, backward combinations. Do that sitting right here. It's all the stuff we've been doing, a little more deliberate, a little more arms back, or even if the shoulders are okay with arms lifting. And then indulging that forward bend, letting the back of the body lengthen and stretch. Forward and back. Inhale and exhale. That's the rhythm of life, isn't it? It's the nighttime and the daytime. It's the summer and the winter. And the full moon and the new moon. Finding your forward and back. And your forward and back. And your forward and back. We do have a balancing pose. We've got two of them actually. We're going to do a tree pose and an eagle pose. And we'll do those in just a minute. Take another moment here to check in with yourself and to see if there's some part of your body that you're feeling like you'd like to access, that maybe we haven't. Maybe in past weeks we've done some things that you feel are missing. So this would be a good moment to give yourself some organic movements, some little dance parties if that's what you need today. On this feast day, Feast of St. Francis, our patron saint of the animal world and of the natural kingdom here, queendom or abundance. And some of you might have more demanding shapes in your repertoire. Some of you might have some triangles or some other shapes that we haven't gotten to. You might do those. And you might be thinking of them differently. I'm thinking today of shapes like the warrior and the bow and arrow in a really different light in this theme of Earth, and how so much of human impact has been because of warriors and hunters. And maybe that's not the vibe of St. Francis. So, but you might be. Maybe you feel it. Maybe that's your vibe. So giving your body some other explorations, some other shapes, and you might be ready for rest. You might be thinking, oh, I've worked enough. And that's a fair judgment, being kind to yourself. As we come to one more piece here, the balancing poses, we've got the tree pose, our beloved trees. If you're balancing, standing on the feet, you might lean a heel against the opposite ankle. That might be available to you. You might bring that foot somewhere upon the opposite leg, and that's a choice, but please avoid the knee directly. That's not, the knee's got enough of a job. So below the knee, maybe above the knee, but somewhere down low. And the hands come together in the front, not just in this Catholic gesture, but to align the body, right? When the hands come together, our spines are reminded to get upright. And you might have balance there. When you feel steady, the hands go up. They might come up. They might open. They might stay low. You might be an evergreen tree. You might be that triangle shape of a tree, and you might be a great big branchy oak tree. Maybe you're some other tree. You know, feel into what type of tree you might be. Cypress, ginkgo. And we'll do at least 2 rounds, and let each round be a switch. So left and right side. As one side gets tired and lets you know it's time to switch, you switch. You let that side come down, you let the other side come up. And even though we're in different parts of the world at this moment, I feel the forest that we are creating, our little group of trees here, our glen, connecting the way all trees are connected through the roots and the mycelium planted in the earth. So that connection of feet on the floor is part of your strength, part of your support. Two rounds for the tree pose, at least. And I'll offer and introduce the eagle pose. That might be something you like and are comfortable with. You might do some of those. You might think, oh, this is too twisty, and you might let yourself let it go. So the eagle has arms that go elbow into elbow, and some of us do that easily and some of us don't. And then you aim to bring the backs of the hands towards each other. If that's available, great. And some folks can even grab that opposite hand and give it another twist. So that's the arm position. And for some of you, this might just feel so good on the shoulders. You might be like, that's all I need. I just want to stay here. And if you want to get this intense, you open up the elbows, you move the forearms away from the face, and you really get into some of these supraspinatus and trapezius and rhomboid. So if you have shoulder tension, this might be your jam right here. This might be all you want to do. But if you want to make it into a balancing pose, you get less finicky about the stretch, but you get your elbows all twisted up, and then you do the same thing by bringing a knee over the opposite knee, and then that foot, if it can, it twists around and hooks. So you're kind of seated, kind of twisted. This is a complicated one. This is an option for those of you who are here for the workout. Same invitation, at least 2 rounds if you're trying it, an attempt and then a good go. And that might be something you're trying just for the shoulders on the chair. You can get yourself twisted up if it feels good, if that's available to you. Taking a few moments with our most complicated position offered tonight, the eagle pose, that great bird. Think of maybe of what eagle means to you. Perhaps your eagle is wingspan opened, connecting with eagle medicine in your world. The eagle is often connected with spirit and the wisdom that comes from the great world beyond our human form. Beautiful. As you complete these movements, notice what else your body might need. In just a moment, we'll move into a breathing practice. We'll go into a yoga nidra, continuing with our theme here of animals and nature's abundance. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and leave a comment about your experience. And while you're here, please subscribe to my channel and opt in for notifications to catch the next class I upload. And then head over to olgachwa.com to join in a live event or to work one-on-one with me. I'm here to help.